Hello YouTube, and welcome to a long anticipated items tier list video. Today is going to be tier 1 items only. I will be making a tier 2 and a tier 3 item tier list, but we're going to be doing tier 1 to start off with, and then maybe we might do all items tier list. That could be quite cool later on. That'll be a big video. But for now, we're going to be ranking tier 1 items from S tier to D tier, S being the best, D being the worst. So without further ado, let's get into this. Now, I did just make this tier list, so if you also want to give this a go yourself, I've left a link in the description to this tier list. And yes, let's get into this. So, the first item we have is the video camera. Now, you're going to see a bit of a trend with this tier list that most stuff's probably going to be lower down because this is all tier 1 stuff. But I am ranking them based on each other, so the best tier 1 items compared to the worst tier 1 items. So it doesn't mean that they're better than the tier 2 or tier 3. But it means that they're better. They're one of the better tier 1 items. So camera is, I mean, the problem with the tier 1 video camera, I mean, we're going to put it in, I think I'm going to put it in B tier. The problem with the tier 1 video camera is it's just, one, it gets knocked over quite a lot, I've found. And two, the viewfinder is so small. I mean, you can see orbs through it. If it's a snowy map and you're outside, then good luck seeing orbs without having to go back to the van. Most of the time, you do need to go back to the van to check. So that's the annoying thing, but it does do its job. So I can't give it a C or a D. Like, it does do what it's meant to do, and I do use it when I prestige, for example, and I don't mind using it if I'm doing a tier 1 challenge or something. So yeah, a solid B tier. Book, again, I think we're gonna have to put this solidly in B tier as well. The tier 1 book, it doesn't have the best range, and it can take a while to get written in, but I've never had a problem where the ghost just hasn't ended up writing in it. So it does its job. The range sucks if you're doing bigger maps, but if you're on small maps, which, let's be honest, most of you will be playing if you're playing with these items, you'll probably be playing on like Tanglewood, Ridgeview, etc. You don't need a bigger book than this. There are some rooms where you might, but most of the time it will get written in. It isn't the best, isn't the worst tier 1 item, so we're going to stick it proudly in B. Next we have the tier 1 candle. Oh, this thing sucks. I hate it. This might be our first D tier. The tier 1 candle is so annoying. So I've got opinion on all these. I've prestiged 4 times so far as of the recording of this video. So I've had to go through using these over and over again from the beginning, and the tier 1 candle is so annoying. Like, okay, it does do its job, it does get blown out, but it seems to run out so fast. Like, the amount of times I've played on like Nightmare, Insanity, or even No Evidence with these tier 1 items, and the candle just runs out before the Aurea test even works because the ghost has changed rooms. Oh, it's so annoying. It's one of the more annoying. Do I put it in C tier maybe? We'll stick with D. I might switch these around later in the video. Yeah, I'm going to stick with D for now. It's so annoying. It runs out. It doesn't really give any light either. I don't think you actually get... In fact, I've got it up right now. Yeah, the wax burns down fast and provides some sanity loss. But yeah, I think you have to place it for it to actually do that. I don't think you can hold it. Don't hold me to that. But honestly, yeah, rubbish. The photo camera. Now, I'm actually going to say... it does its job, and there's something I like about the tier 1 photo camera. Like, there's something, I don't know why, but I love taking a picture with this camera and it printing out. I think that's really cool. I think it's one of the cooler tier 1 items. I don't mind using it. It does take a while to switch between the camera after you take a photo and then like your Incense, for example, and that's why I can't put it in S tier. And it's really annoying, like, trying to take a photo of multiple things. It takes ages. But I think I would say I prefer it over the B. Mainly just aesthetics. It's cool. Like, you print it. It's a... what are they called? The ones where you take the picture, it prints off. So cool. I want one of those cameras in real life, to be honest. So, yeah, we're going to put that solidly in A tier. Next, we have the tier 1 Crucifix. Now, the tier 1 Crucifix. I mean... It does its job. Again, the range is pretty rubbish and only prevents 1 hunt. So I feel like I'm going to have to put it in maybe C tier. The tier 1 Crucifix, obviously it does its job. Only 1 hunt prevention. When you're on low levels as well, that's annoying. Like, you're even less safe with this thing. You place it, it tries to hunt you once, and then you could get attacked again. The range is a bit rubbish. Like, I've honestly found so many times I've placed the tier 1 Crucifix in a small mapped room, and then I've still got hunted from that room because the Crucifix hasn't quite covered the range. So I think it's going to have to go in C tier. Not so keen on the tier 1 Crucifix. Next, we have the tier 1 dots. Now, a lot of people hate this thing, but I don't think it's that bad. I'm going to put it in B tier. It is really annoying to place. I get it. Oh, maybe it's a C tier, actually. Okay, I'm going to put it in C tier. It is annoying to place. You can't place it on the floor, really. Like, it doesn't really cover anything very well. The radius is really rubbish on it as well. Like, it's got a very narrow light on it. And you kind of have to place it on something. You can't really place it on the floor. It barely covers anything when you place it on the floor. So you need something to put it on. It doesn't cover much space. Yeah, not the best. Honestly, I'd honestly bring 2 of these in if you're ever using dots. If you can afford it, bring in a second tier 1 dots if you're on tier 1 items. Yeah, that thing kind of sucks. Yeah, I think it's a solid C tier on the same level as the Crucifix. The tier 2 dots is way better, and the tier 3 dots is just even better than that. So yeah, solid C tier I think for that. EMF. Oh, the tier 1 EMF is awful. I'm almost tempted to put this in D tier. We'll put it in C tier because it does do its job. EMF 5 is pretty obvious. Like, it does shoot up. The problem with this is you have to be standing like on the object or on the door. It doesn't give you, it barely has any range. It's like a half a meter range or something trash like that. Honestly, it's awful. Like, trying to find the room with this thing. The tier 3 is obviously really good for that, but the tier 1 is awful. You need to see the thing be moved to like get your EMF reading. Yeah, C tier for this thing. Oh gosh, the tier 1 headgear. Now, I'm basing this really off of solos because that's what I tend to play. This is completely pointless. In fact, I might even make a new category for this. I'm gonna call it pointless. And that is where this headgear is going in. It's so bad. Let's change the color of this. It is so bad, I never use it. In fact, I find it annoying when I do have it because I go to turn my torch on, and then I turn on this awful thing, which just makes the ghost know where I am. And it's literally pointless. If you're playing solos, never use this. It's just annoying because you'll forget that it's on, and then you'll be chased by the ghost. It'll know where you are because it can sense the electronics. And it makes an annoying sound. You sometimes turn that on when you're trying to turn your torch on because you hold T instead of tap T. Just annoying. I hate this thing. It's completely pointless. I never use it ever. So pointless category. Next we have tier 1 incense, and this, my friends, is going to be our first S tier tier 1 item. This thing is I actually sometimes use it on game modes where I've got all different incense. I literally might use it in that situation. For example, APOC 3. This can actually be really good. The tier 1 incense, okay, it doesn't last very long, but it makes the ghost continue its speed and run away. Honestly, sometimes it can controversially be better than the tier 2. Some people use the tier 1 over the tier 2 and the tier 3. I would say in terms of tier 1 items, this is one of the best ones. I actually do use it in higher game modes. So yeah, definitely an S tier for that. Good item. Good item. Does what it's meant to do. And if you are trying to find out the speed of the ghost, etc., can be useful as well because it doesn't change the speed of the ghost. It continues on the same speed, at the same speed. Next, we have tier 1 matches. And honestly, I don't know where to put this instead of just in the middle. Like, I don't think I've ever run out of matches. Like, what are you doing if you manage to run out of matches? I think I've gone down to maybe 2 or 1 before, but I've never run out. So they do what they're intended to do, and there's not really much else to say about that. They do what they're intended to do. You can run out, which is obviously absolutely catastrophic if you need them. But honestly, I've never run into that problem. So that's staying in a solid B tier. Next, we have tier 1 motion sensor. Now, I mean, this thing's all right. Like, the tier 2's better because it has, I think, a longer range on it, and you can split it into 2. But the tier 1, as a tier 1 item, I'd say a solid B tier. It does what it's meant to do. The annoying thing about the fact, maybe I'll move it to C actually. We'll keep it on B. We'll keep it on B. The annoying thing about it is you can't hear when it goes off, which can be really annoying if you're playing like Nightmare, Insanity, No Evidence, where you are trying to do like a Yuri test, for example, where you're and you're like listening for if it wanders out the room. Or Banshee tests and you can't quite see the motion sensor. It can be annoying in that way, but it does what it's meant to do. It goes off correctly. I think it's a solid B tier. And that's where we move on to the tier 1 Parabolic Microphone. Which again, I mean, compared to the other two, the tier 1 and the tier 2 is pretty similar. It's not got the best range. Again, I think I have to put it solidly in the middle. Kind of like the motion sensor. The range is all right. It's not brilliant. I will obviously bring it into all my hunts. So yeah, it's good for that because I need to test for Banshee, for example. But that's really all it's meant for, that and the challenges. So it's not really that useful, but I think we'll keep it there. We'll keep it there. I'm happy with that. Next we have tier 1 Salt. Tier 1 Salt is just a bit annoying. I mean, look. The range on it, it's just a tiny little salt patch, and you can only have 2 instead of 3. The other two, the tier 2 and the tier 3, you get 3 salts. This you only get 2. This can be really annoying. I'm almost tempted to put it in D tier, but no, we'll put it. These are all kind of annoying in their own way, so we'll put it in C tier. It does what it's intended. You can get footprints with it. If the ghost steps in it, you can see UV. The only thing is you place 2, so getting salt pictures which is like the main meta right now for getting a perfect run. So annoying. Like I always go place this salt and I realize, oh, I've only got 2, not 3. I feel so good when I get the tier 2. So yeah, that's going to be a solid C tier. It does its job. It doesn't cover much area. Like it can be annoying getting the ghost to step in it, but it does its job. Now we have tier 1 Sanity Meds. I mean, honestly, I barely ever use it. To the tier 1 Sanity Meds. I mean, I know that they don't give you as much sanity. In fact, let's see if there's stats here. So yeah, it just gives you sanity. I mean, it's just sanity pills at the end of the day. I think it doesn't give you as much as the other two, but it's all right. Like, if I need it, sure, it's fine. And obviously, the higher difficulty, I think you get less sanity when you take these. But again, I think it's just a solid B tier. I'm not going to put it in A or S tier. Now we've got arguably the best tier 1 item in the game. Can I make another category for this above S tier? I'm not sure. The tier 1 sound sensor. I'm joking. Pointless. Oh my gosh. The sound sensor. What an item, eh? Honestly, I kind of feel bad, but guys, it is so... I don't even use the tier 2 or tier 3. This thing is ass. Like, in every sense of the word. Awful. I don't even know... I don't think I've ever used it, actually. I actually don't think I've ever used it. Now, it's not exactly pointless if you're playing with friends. Oh, no, but then again, you're not going to be playing, like, No Evidence with friends. I was going to say if you're playing, like, Nightmare, Insanity, or No Evidence with tier 1 items with friends, that's where it could be useful because you can hear the ghost's footsteps when they're getting hunted. Honestly, it's rubbish. I could just keep it down there. It's rubbish. The item in general is rubbish. They're literally bringing out a new item to, I think, replace this because it is so bad. So yeah, pointless. I can't put it anywhere above being bottom like the sound sensor. Let's be honest. Now the tier 1 spirit box. Now this thing can be quite... I do like getting the tier 2. The tier 2 feels like a big upgrade. The tier 1 is not great. The radius is really annoying. You can spend... I mean, especially for new players, this thing is awful. Like, you're wandering around the room. I've spent ages wandering around the room talking into this, and it's taken me ages to actually get a response. And that's because the radius is rubbish. It's got very small radius. And 2, it, like, goes through frequencies, and you have to be on the right frequency, I believe, for that game for it to actually give a response. Now, I think that's what it's meant to do. I don't know if that's technically correct, but yeah, this thing can take me ages to get a spirit box response, so I'm gonna have to put it in C tier. It's a pretty rubbish spirit box, so we're doing C. Now we have... Oh gosh, I hate this thing. Now, when it comes to getting a tier 2 version of this, I get so happy. to get off the tier 1. The tier 1 thermometer. Now, it's not pointless because it does do its job. You do get the evidence with it, but my gosh, I hate it. Like, I hate using this thing standing in a room for like 10 seconds to work out if it's cold enough in there. It's so bad. Now, when I first came back to the game, a lot of people told me that they thought it was the best thermometer. I don't know where they got that from. It is trash. I hate walking around with this thing because with the tier 2 and tier 3 thermometer, you can walk around and you can work out how cold the room is within like a few seconds. This thing, you have to wait for it to go down. It might bounce and go up and then go down. And you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm spending forever trying to find the room here. In terms of the items on tier 1, one of the worst. I hate it. Yeah, instant D tier for me. Hate this thing. I get so excited when I get to the tier 2 because anything's better than the tier 1. Next, we have the tier 1 torch. Now, you might be surprised here. I'm going to put this in A tier. And the reason is, and I know a lot of new players will be like, I can't see anything with this. This is trash. On my highest level game modes, when I've got all items, I use the tier 2 headgear, which is actually the same luminosity as the tier 1 torch. So therefore, I am so used to using tier 1 style headgear that I actually think that the tier 1 torch is good. Like, you can see enough. You know, I mean, obviously the tier 3 is miles above in terms of how much you can see luminosity, but you can see what you need to see. And yeah, it's as a tier 1 item, because it's like as good luminosity as the tier 2. I think I just have to put it in tier 2 headgear. I think I have to put it in A tier. Yeah, it does its job, and it's as good as the tier 2 headgear, and that's what I use when I get to my highest level on Phasmophobia, when I've got all items. So yeah, A tier for that. Next, we have the tier 1 tripod. Now, realistically, there's barely any difference between the tripod. Now, this tripod does get knocked over quite a lot, which is annoying. I think it's a B tier. It does its job. You place your camera on it. The only annoying thing about this tripod as well is it makes the camera even smaller when you're walking around with it. So that's kind of annoying. Like, the viewfinder is really small. You can quite just about see ghost orbs if they do show up, but it's pretty standard, really. It does its job. Unfortunately, you can't pan with it, which is one of the annoying things, but it does. You can place it, it stays there. It does get knocked over quite a bit generally, so I can't put it above B tier. But yeah, it's all right. It does its job. Do I use it often? Actually, yes. I like setting cameras up on tripods much better than trying to find a place to place them. I like the freedom. So yeah, B tier. And finally, we have the tier 1 UV torch. Now, this thing is all right. The annoying thing about the tier 1 torch, I'm going to put it in. It's all right. Do I put it in B tier as well? I think I'm going to... I mean, as a tier 1 item, it's standard. Yeah, I'm going to put it in B tier as well. The tier 1 torch, it's good. You can see... Obviously, you can see handprints and fingerprints pretty easily with it. You do need to scan, because the radius of the light is so small. You do have to scan like a whole door, but that only takes like, what, half a second longer than just looking straight at the door. You just do a quick scan up and down. It's done. The annoying thing about the tier 1 UV is that when you light up a handprint, you've got like, what, a second before the UV disappears of the handprint. So you've barely got any time to take a picture. That's the downside to this thing. But in general, it does its job. So yeah, I think it's a solid B tier. Yeah, again, only annoying thing is that the UV barely lasts any time. And there we have it. That is my tier list. Would I change anything? Honestly, I think everything is where it's meant to be. The only thing I'd actually use out of all this in high difficulty game modes is the tier 1 Incense, so that is solidly S tier. And other than that, I wouldn't actually use any of these in Nightmare, Insanity, No Evidence, APOC 3, etc. So yeah, that's a solid list. Pointless items at the bottom. Tier 1 headgear, tier 1 sound sensor, trash. But yes, the only reason, by the way, that the tier 1 headgear would probably go up was if you're playing with friends to watch them die and stuff. That's kind of funny. But yeah, as a solo player, pointless. I hope you enjoyed the video. Stay tuned and subscribe if you want to see the tier 2, tier 3, and all the items tier list that will be coming later on. And I'll see you guys in the next video. And also, do make sure you go follow my Twitch. I do go live there almost every single day at 4 PM GMT. And I love you all. Have a great rest of your evenings or days or mornings. I'll see you later. Bye.